Even though they were being abused, you understand how that is. When you were in the world, it wasn't all wonderful. That's why you're saved now. There was something that happened, and that's like a relationship that goes sour. It starts out with good, and you got all of the praise going on. They start complimenting you. Nothing gets on your nerves. But once they got you in their grip, that's when the demon comes out. That's when the meanness comes out. That's when the anger comes out. And you begin to say, well, how is it you wasn't like that in the beginning? Why did you? Because now that I got you, I'm going to grip you and I'm going to break you. See, that's the pimpish mentality. Wow. When you're being pimped by the world, they do everything to give you the glitz and the glamour. Oh, I'll give you the BMW. I'll give you the finest cars. You don't have to work for anything. You can go ahead and party and have fun. But something starts happening to your mentality. You begin to say, if I am all of that, why do I feel ugly? If I am all of that and I have all of what I say I have, why do I not feel successful? Why is it that I'm doing all that I'm doing? You understand, some of you know, because you had the designers and you had the men and you had the girls, but something happened when you got deep into your Egypt in the world. You start feeling the bondage of the slavery. So you said, I can't live like this any longer. I can't do this any longer. I can't do this relationship. I can't do this way. There has to be more, because there was something on the inside of you crying out for more. See, that's what the children of Israel were used to. They were used to their soul crying out for more. Not to please God, but their soul was crying out for more. Not to serve God, but their soul was crying out. When you look at that term crying out, what that means was that they were in anguish. They were in so much hostility. Have you ever been in a negative environment and you found yourself crying out for change? Have you ever been going through so much and your spirit and your soul is crying out to God? You don't know God, you just heard of him. But if there's anybody that can help me, if there really is a God, I need to cry out to him out of my spirit. You find yourself crying yourself to sleep at night. You find yourself start talking to your girlfriends and your friends about your situation because it only depresses you a little longer. That's what the children of Israel were going through. They were crying out to God, and God sent them Moses. Now you understand something, because Moses came out of Egypt. In other words, God says, he tells us in this 21st century church that I always raise up leaders that I took out of the world so that they can be familiar with the systems. They can be familiar with the fake glory. What is the fake glory? You understand the same thing that that Jesus had in the desert when God allowed them to be tempted of the devil. He said, here, I give you all the kingdoms of the world. I know you're hungry. It sounds like famine to me. Jesus had to even go through a famine. He had to go through lack. But he says, what you gonna do if you just worship me? I'll give you everything. He said, no. Even though I am going through lack, even though I don't have no bread, I've been fasting for 40 days without anything. I'm losing weight. I'm losing my strength. But I've made a vow to my God that I will only worship him and him alone. You got to understand, he had to go through the same test that the children of Israel had to go through. He had to go through the same test that Abraham had to go through. But instead, Jesus did not go back to Egypt. He said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. God was giving us an example that when lack is presented, when your circumstance change and you can't find money for food and you can't find shelter, nor you can find another human being that's going to relate to you. Everything that's surrounding you is from the desert, and when you're in the desert, the conditions are very scary because it gets too hot, and then at night it gets too cold. It seems like you're always stuck in in between. Have you ever questioned God and said, God, why is it that I can never get it right? It seems like we are nomadic people going from one thing to another. I feel like we are the children of Israel. Why would you lead this almost 3 million people out of Egypt, out from their homes, and somewhere in the wilderness? What that means is they did not know where they were going to lay their head one day after the other. They didn't even know how they were going to eat one day after the other. Certainly you said that you was our Jehovah Jireh. You know, when you got saved, everybody told you, listen, now that you're saved, everything is going to be all right. He's going to be a Jehovah Jireh. He's going to make a way out of nowhere. Then the opposite starts happening. You start saying, well, that's not my testimony. Matter of fact, I'm losing jobs because they won't allow me to have Sundays off. I'm losing friends. I'm losing family members. This is not what they said it was going to be like. And you find yourself caught in between because you're saying, if God is my provider,